Welcome to the Wild West brought back to life, where legends, outlaws, and gunfights ride again in epic storytelling. Saddle up, hit that subscribe button, and join me as we journey into the untamed frontier. Blood Oath at Sundown. The sun bled across the desert sky, a fiery red stretching over the wide frontier. Beneath the lone cottonwood tree, two boys knelt in the dirt, their hands clasped tight. Tom Calder, steady-eyed even at 12, gripped the knife they had stolen from the blacksmith's shed. Across from him, Jesse Hale grinned through his mop of dark hair, daring and reckless as always. They cut their palms, just deep enough for the blood to rise. The drops mingled as they pressed their hands together. The air smelled of dust and mesquite, of boyhood dreams born in a harsh land where only the toughest survived. "We swear," Jesse said, his voice trembling with the seriousness of the moment. "No matter what comes, outlaws, lawmen, or the devil himself, we stand together. Blood brothers till the end." Tom repeated the words, slower, more solemn, as if etching them into stone. The cottonwood's branches whispered in the evening wind, sealing their promise. That very night, as the two rode back to town on their scrawny ponies, the crack of a rifle split the twilight. Smoke drifted from a canyon ridge, and a rancher's wagon lay burning. Jesse's eyes lit with excitement, while Tom's stomach twisted with dread. "Someday, Tom," Jesse whispered, eyes fixed on the burning wreck. "That'll be us. Men who carve their names into history. Guns in hand, world at our feet." Tom shook his head. "Or men who end up in the ground." As they reached the edge of town, another gunshot rang out, closer this time. Red Rock would never sleep peacefully again. Years passed, and Red Rock grew into a place where hope and violence lived side by side. Tom Calder took work at the sheriff's office, learning the trade of law and order under Sheriff Boone, a grizzled veteran who carried scars from the border wars. Tom's heart leaned toward justice, toward holding back the tide of chaos that threatened the frontier. Meanwhile, Jesse Hale found himself drifting further from the law. What began as harmless mischief, stealing apples, racing horses through the streets, soon became robbery, gambling, and riding with dangerous men. Jesse had the charm to win friends and the nerve to lead them. His name became whispered in the saloons, sometimes in admiration, often in fear. One evening, Tom walked the dusty street, star pinned on his chest for the first time. The badge felt heavy, but right. From across the way, Jesse leaned against the saloon doors, a whiskey bottle in hand, smirking at his old friend. For a moment, their eyes locked, two boys who had once shared blood, now standing on opposite sides of the same town. Jesse raised the bottle in a mock toast. "Look at you, Tom. Sheriff's pup. Guess we finally found which side of the fence you sit on." Tom didn't answer, but the silence was reply enough. Their bond was cracking, though neither dared admit it aloud. That same night, a stagecoach rolled into Red Rock riddled with bullets and blood, Jesse's mark unmistakably painted on the wreck. The morning after the stagecoach raid, Red Rock boiled with anger. Sheriff Boone gathered his deputies, Tom among them, and set off in pursuit of the bandits. Dust rose behind their horses as they thundered into the canyon, rifles ready. The canyon walls closed in like the jaws of a trap. Jesse and his gang waited there, shadows against the rocks. Gunfire exploded, echoing across the cliffs. Smoke, dust, and the acrid scent of gunpowder filled the air. Tom fired into the haze, his hands steady though his heart wrenched at the thought of facing Jesse. He caught a glimpse of him through the smoke, hat low, pistol flashing, grin wide as if he were dancing with death itself. The posse pulled back, wounded and shaken, while Jesse's men disappeared deeper into outlaw country. Sheriff Boone spat into the dirt. "That boy's gone, Tom. Ain't no bringing him back now." Tom didn't reply. The image of Jesse's smile haunted him, reckless, fearless, and already too far gone. As the posse regrouped, Tom found something in the dirt, Jesse's old pocket-knife, the one they had used under the cottonwood tree. It felt less like a memory, and more like a warning. The saloon was alive that night, lanterns glowing, piano jangling, and the smell of whiskey thick in the air. Jesse swaggered through the batwing doors, his gang at his back. Cards clattered, women laughed nervously, and the piano player faltered at the sight of him. He tossed gold coins onto the bar, stagecoach money, blood money, and ordered rounds for everyone. His charm filled the room, but behind it was a darkness no one could ignore. Tom entered minutes later, badge glinting in the lamplight. The room froze. For a moment, time seemed to hang between them. Jesse raised his glass. "Well, well. If it ain't Red Rock's shining star." "Give yourself up, Jesse," Tom said, his voice even. "This doesn't have to end in blood." The laughter that followed was sharp and cruel. Jesse leaned in, his smile all teeth. "Oh, it always ends in blood, brother." Hands twitched toward holsters, hearts pounded, and before Tom could react, the first gunshot shattered the piano. Chaos erupted. Glass shattered, bullets tore through the smoky haze, and screams filled the saloon. Jesse's gang fired wildly while Tom ducked behind an overturned table, returning shots with deadly precision. Through the maelstrom, Jesse strode confidently, bullets seeming to miss him as if fate itself favored his defiance. Their eyes met across the chaos. Tom shouted above the gunfire, "This isn't you, Jesse! Stop before it's too late." But Jesse only smirked, his pistol blazing. Too late was years ago. By the time the dust settled, bodies lay broken across the saloon floor. Jesse was gone, slipped into the night with his men, leaving only carnage behind. Tom stood amid the wreckage, heart heavy with the knowledge that the line had been crossed. The boy he had sworn blood brotherhood with was gone, replaced by an outlaw king. Outside, the church bells rang, a warning that Jesse hadn't fled far. He was waiting, somewhere in the dark streets of Red Rock. The church bell tolled in the dead of night, its iron clang echoing over Red Rock. Folks peered from shuttered windows, whispering fears of death riding through their streets. Sheriff Boone gathered what few deputies remained, but Tom pushed ahead, rifle in hand, determination etched in every step. The dusty street stretched before him, shadows long under the moonlight. He knew Jesse was out there, watching. Sure enough, a figure leaned against the hitching post, smoke curling from his cigarette. Jesse's silhouette was unmistakable, calm as if he owned the night. "You're late, brother," Jesse called, his voice low but carrying. "Was beginning to think you lost your nerve." Tom raised his rifle but didn't fire. "Turn yourself in. Don't make me drag you through the streets in chains." Jesse chuckled. "You've still got it backwards. I ain't the one chained, Tom. You are, tied to that badge, tied to rules. Out here, rules get men killed." Before Tom could answer, hoofbeats thundered. Jesse's men rode in, guns blazing, scattering the townsfolk. Flames erupted as lanterns crashed. Amid the chaos, Jesse disappeared again, but not before leaving a message scrawled in blood-red paint on the church wall. "Sundown comes for you, Sheriff." Dawn broke over Red Rock with smoke still rising from charred buildings. The townsfolk gathered in the square, their faces pale, demanding answers. Sheriff Boone stood before them, but his years weighed heavy. It was Tom who stepped forward, promising justice, promising protection. His words steadied them, though his own heart quaked. Later, Boone pulled Tom aside, his eyes hard. "You can't let friendship blind you. Jesse's a wolf now. You hesitate again, he'll gut you like a steer." Tom said nothing, but the knife Jesse once owned still rested in his pocket, a reminder of their blood oath. Meanwhile, Jesse rode high in the hills, rallying his men. To them, he wasn't just an outlaw, he was a legend. "Red Rock belongs to us now," he declared. "And when the law comes knocking, we'll answer with lead." That night, Jesse's gang raided a cattle drive, slaughtering men and driving off stock. Word reached town by morning. Red Rock needed a sheriff ready to draw steel, and Tom knew he couldn't wait any longer. Sheriff Boone placed his star in Tom's hand, his voice grave. "You're the law now, and the law's got to kill your brother." With a small posse at his back, Sheriff Tom Calder rode into the Canyon of Echoes. The walls loomed high, bouncing every sound back tenfold. Wind howled through the rocks like the voices of the dead. They tracked Jesse's men to a narrow pass. Campfire smoke curled upward, the smell of roasted beef telling the tale of stolen cattle. Tom's chest tightened. He saw them laughing, careless, Jesse at the center like a dark star around which the others revolved. The posse prepared to strike, but Tom hesitated. Memories flashed, Jesse teaching him to ride, Jesse daring him to jump from the cliffs into the river below. Could he shoot him now? The hesitation cost them. Gunfire ripped through the canyon as Jesse's sentries spotted them. Bullets sparked off stone, horses screamed, men fell. Amid the chaos, Jesse's voice rang out, "You should have stayed in town, brother." The canyon floor erupted in fire as Jesse's men set off dynamite charges, and the walls began to collapse around Tom and his posse. The posse staggered back into Red Rock battered, bruised, and fewer in number. The canyon ambush had left more graves than survivors. Townsfolk muttered doubts, whispering that maybe Jesse Hale couldn't be stopped. Tom tried to rally them, but each word felt hollow. At night, he sat alone in his office, staring at Jesse's knife on the desk, wondering if destiny had sealed their fates long ago. Then came Betrayal. One of Tom's own deputies, young Billy Crane, slipped out of town under cover of darkness, carrying maps and supply notes. By dawn, Jesse struck again, burning the freight wagons meant to feed Red Rock through the winter. The town nearly broke that day. Families packed wagons to leave, preachers called it God's judgment, and the saloon rang with talk of surrender. Tom stood in the square, voice raw but resolute. "Red Rock ain't just a town. It's our home. And I'll ride through hell itself before I let Jesse Hale take it from us." As the people cheered faintly, a lone rider galloped into town. Jesse's gang had kidnapped Mary Lou, the woman both men once loved. Mary Lou's scream echoed across the hills as Jesse's men dragged her into their hideout, a ramshackle fortress of old timber and stone. She had once loved Jesse's fire, but chose Tom's steadiness. That rejection still burned in Jesse's heart, fanning his cruelty. He knelt before her, brushing dust from her cheek. "Don't worry, darlin'. Tom'll come for you. He always does. But this time, he won't walk away." Back in Red Rock, Tom received the message. Mary Lou was bait, and Jesse wanted him to bite. Sheriff Boone urged caution, but Tom's jaw tightened. "If I don't go, she dies. If I do, maybe we both do. But I swore once I'd protect her." He gathered his rifle, saddled his horse, and rode alone into the desert night. The stars were cold above him, and every shadow seemed alive with danger. As Tom reached the outlaw camp, he saw Mary Lou bound by the firelight, and Jesse stepping out of the shadows, 2 pistols gleaming in his hands. The fire crackled, shadows stretching tall across the outlaw camp. Mary Lou's eyes widened as Tom stepped into the light, rifle steady. Jesse smirked, his hat tilted low, both pistols resting easy in his hands. "Didn't think you'd ride in alone," Jesse drawled. "Guess some things never change." Tom's voice cut sharp. "Let her go, Jesse. This is between us." For a heartbeat, silence ruled. Then the night erupted, gunfire flashing, bullets slicing through the dark. Tom dove behind a wagon, wood splintering as lead tore through it. Mary Lou screamed, struggling against her bonds. Tom rolled, fired, and clipped Jesse's hat clean off his head. Jesse laughed, wild and reckless. "Still got your aim, brother." But numbers told the story. Jesse's men swarmed, circling Tom like wolves. Outnumbered 10-1, Tom fought with desperate fury, his rifle cracking until the chamber clicked empty. He drew his revolver, each shot carving a path through shadows, but they kept coming. Just as Tom braced for the end, Mary Lou broke free, seizing a knife and slashing her bonds, yet Jesse snatched her by the throat, pressing a pistol to her temple. Tom froze, revolver still smoking in his hand. One wrong twitch and Jesse would kill her. Dust swirled between them, the campfire painting everything in a hellish glow. "Drop it," Jesse barked, "or she dies." Tom lowered his revolver, fury burning in his chest. Jesse shoved Mary Lou toward his men, then stepped closer. "You don't see it yet, do you? We're 2 sides of the same coin. You wear a badge, I wear a black hat. But the blood in our veins is the same." "Not anymore," Tom growled. Suddenly, Mary Lou twisted free, driving her knife into Jesse's arm. He roared in pain, firing wild. Tom lunged, tackling Jesse into the dirt. They rolled in a flurry of fists and blood, neither man giving ground. The gang moved in, but Mary Lou snatched Tom's revolver and fired, scattering them like startled cattle. Tom wrestled Jesse down, his hand around Jesse's throat, only to hesitate, unable to finish it. In that moment of weakness, Jesse's men charged, overwhelming Tom, dragging him to the ground while Jesse staggered up, laughing through the blood. By dawn, Tom awoke in chains. The desert sun beat down, his wrists raw from iron cuffs. Jesse's men prodded him along, Mary Lou nowhere in sight. Jesse rode ahead, cradling his wounded arm but grinning like the devil himself. Funny, ain't it? The lawman in shackles, the outlaw riding free. Maybe God got it backwards after all. They marched Tom to a ruined mining town, now Jesse's stronghold. Its buildings leaned like broken teeth, the wind whispering through empty windows. Here, Jesse's gang ruled without fear. Jesse tossed Tom into the old jail cell, bars rusted but still strong. Sit tight, Sheriff. Sundown's coming, and when it does, we'll see who really deserves to wear chains. Through the bars, Tom caught Mary Lou's gaze as she was dragged past, bound again. Her eyes pleaded with him, but all he could do was grip the chains and pray for a chance. That night, a deputy loyal to Tom snuck into the camp, but was caught by Jesse's men and thrown into the same cell, bloodied and broken. The deputy's name was Caleb, a boy barely out of his teens. His face was bruised, but his spirit burned. "Sheriff," he whispered through swollen lips, "the town hasn't given up. They're waiting on you. If you can break free, they'll fight." Tom studied the rusted bars, the weakened hinges. His mind raced. He had to escape, not just for himself, but for Red Rock and Mary Lou. Jesse visited that night, leaning lazy against the bars. "Remember when we swore that oath by the river? Swore we'd ride together till the end." His voice softened, almost mournful. "I still mean it, Tom. You could ride with me now, rule this land instead of serving it." Tom stared back, steady as stone. "The boy I swore that oath with died a long time ago." Jesse's grin faltered for just a breath, then returned. "Then I'll bury you myself." As Jesse walked away, Caleb revealed a stolen key, slipped from a drunken guard. Freedom was within reach, but the risk of discovery was death. At midnight, Tom and Caleb moved. The key turned in the lock with a grating squeal. Every creak of the iron felt like thunder, but finally the door swung open. They slipped through the shadows, avoiding drunken guards. Mary Lou's muffled cries reached Tom's ears. She was close. He found her bound in the old saloon, eyes shining with hope as he cut her free. But fate wasn't kind. A guard stumbled in, lantern in hand. His scream split the night as the lantern dropped, shattering into flame. Within moments, the old saloon was ablaze, fire racing through dry wood. Tom, Mary Lou, and Caleb fought through smoke, ducking bullets as Jesse's gang scrambled in chaos. Horses reared, gunpowder exploded, men cursed and fled. Just as they leapt into the night, Jesse appeared through the smoke, twin pistols blazing, blocking their only path to freedom. The saloon roared with flames, smoke curling like black serpents into the sky. Tom shoved Mary Lou behind him, revolver drawn, Caleb clutching a rifle with shaky hands. Jesse stepped through the firelight, his silhouette a demon of the frontier, eyes burning hotter than the blaze around him. "You think you can steal her back and just ride off?" Jesse sneered. His pistols barked, bullets sparking off wood beams. Tom dove, rolling across the dirt floor as embers rained down. He fired back, each shot a duel of destiny. Mary Lou screamed as a burning rafter crashed, splitting the room. Jesse advanced, smoke swirling like a shroud, his voice booming. "This ends tonight, brother." Tom's revolver clicked empty. He yanked Caleb toward the shattered window. "Jump!" he shouted. Together, they crashed through glass and flame, hitting the dirt outside hard. Behind them, the saloon groaned as the fire devoured it whole. From the inferno, Jesse emerged untouched, laughing like a man possessed, vowing, "You can't outrun blood, Tom. I'll hunt you to the grave." The trio fled into the desert night, the badlands stretching endless beneath a sky littered with stars. Horses thundered across cracked earth, but Jesse's riders weren't far behind, dust plumes rising like ghosts in the moonlight. Mary Lou clung to Tom's waist, her voice trembling. "He won't stop. Not until one of you is dead." Tom didn't answer. His jaw was iron, his eyes fixed on the horizon. They raced past skeletal mesas, the wind howling through stone like a warning from the earth itself. Caleb fired back blindly, his shots cracking against the night, slowing the pursuit only for a breath. Then came the whistle of a bullet. Caleb cried out, nearly thrown from his saddle, blood darkening his sleeve. Tom caught him, pulling him close, fury blazing. Ahead, the ground split into a canyon, sheer cliffs and no way across. Behind, Jesse's riders closed in, guns blazing. They were trapped. The horses skidded to a halt at the canyon rim, hooves kicking loose stones into the abyss. Tom's chest heaved, eyes darting for escape. Jesse's gang circled from behind, their laughter cruel as they tightened the noose. "Looks like the lawman's luck just ran out," Jesse taunted, riding forward. His pistols gleamed silver in the moonlight. Tom raised his revolver, steady despite the sweat streaking his brow. "Not yet." Then, without warning, Caleb spurred his horse, charging straight into Jesse's men. Bullets ripped through the night as the boy fought like a cornered wolf. "Go, Sheriff!" he screamed. Tom grabbed Mary Lou's hand. They scrambled down a hidden goat trail along the canyon wall, rocks crumbling underfoot. Above them, gunfire echoed as Caleb's last stand raged, a boy giving his blood for the sheriff he believed in. Tom and Mary Lou reached the canyon floor, only to find Jesse waiting below, his pistols raised, as if the devil himself had read their every move. The canyon echoed with Jesse's laughter, cold and cruel. "You think I don't know you, Tom? Every path you'd take, every trick you'd pull? I've been inside your head since we were boys." Mary Lou clutched Tom's arm, but her eyes flickered with something else. Fear not of Jesse, but of the truth. Jesse's guns hovered steady. "You never told him, did you?" he said, voice dripping venom. "Tell him who you came to first. Mary Lou, tell him who you loved before he put on that badge." Tom's breath caught. His grip on his revolver wavered as Mary Lou's tears betrayed her silence. Jesse grinned, his words a blade twisting deeper. "She chose me once, Tom. And part of her still does." The revelation shattered the air between them, the canyon walls closing in like a coffin. As Tom's heart reeled, Jesse pulled the trigger, gunfire exploding in the canyon night. The shot tore through Tom's shoulder, spinning him to the ground. Mary Lou screamed, throwing herself over him, shielding him from Jesse's next bullet. Jesse dismounted, boots crunching over stone, his shadow towering like a specter. "You should have ridden with me, brother. Now you'll die alone." Tom fought to rise, blood soaking his shirt, vision blurring. But his hand refused to drop the revolver. He aimed, shaky yet defiant, while Jesse stepped closer, both pistols gleaming. Mary Lou pleaded through sobs. "Jesse, don't. Please. If there's any piece of the boy I once knew left in you, don't do this." Jesse hesitated for only a breath. Then his grin returned, sharp as a knife. He cocked the hammer and pressed the barrel to Tom's chest, just as a thunderous gunshot rang out from the shadows above the canyon. The canyon roared as the shot rang out. Jesse staggered, his pistol dropping from his grip as the bullet tore through his arm. He cursed, clutching the wound, eyes snapping upward. On the ridge above, smoke curled from a rifle barrel. A lone rider stood silhouetted against the moon, Caleb. Bloodied, beaten, but alive. "Thought I'd let you finish him," the boy hollered down. "Not a chance, outlaw." Jesse's fury ignited. He drew his second pistol, firing wildly at the ridge. Bullets sparked stone as Caleb ducked for cover. Tom, half conscious from blood loss, dragged himself upright. His hand closed around Mary Lou's trembling fingers. He whispered hoarsely, "Run! Get out of here!" but her tears fell as she shook her head. Caleb shouted a warning. Too late. Jesse had recovered his gun, his aim fixed squarely on Mary Lou. The night cracked with gunfire. Jesse's shot flew, but missed, the bullet splintering rock inches from Mary Lou's head. Caleb had fired again, forcing Jesse to stumble back. Tom lunged, using the last of his strength to tackle Jesse. They crashed into the canyon dirt, fists colliding, bones cracking under raw fury. Their childhood friendship burned away, leaving only blood and vengeance. "Why, Jesse?" Tom roared, pinning him down. "Why throw away everything we were?" Jesse spat blood, laughing bitterly. "Because we were never equal, Sheriff. You had the respect, the girl, the law. All I had was the shadow of your name. So I took my own kingdom, in fire and steel." The two men grappled as Mary Lou screamed, torn between them. The canyon echoed with their struggle, their destiny boiling to the surface. In the chaos, Jesse's hand found the grip of his fallen revolver, slowly angling it toward Tom's back. The revolver thundered. Tom cried out, falling sideways as Jesse scrambled to his feet. He aimed down, ready to finish it. But his hand froze. His eyes met Mary Lou's. She stood between them, her body trembling, tears streaming, yet unflinching. "Kill him, Jesse," she whispered, "and whatever's left of the boy I loved dies too." For a heartbeat, Jesse faltered. The canyon seemed to hold its breath. His eyes flickered, memories of dusty childhood days, of laughter by the river, of promises made under starlight. For a flicker, mercy lived in him. But it died just as quickly. He shoved Mary Lou aside. "That boy's been dead a long time." Jesse cocked the hammer again, only to hear the sharp click of Caleb's rifle behind him. Caleb's voice was iron. "Drop it, outlaw. You're done." Jesse turned slowly, a grin cutting across his bruised face. "You really think you've got the guts, boy?" His eyes gleamed with madness, daring him. Caleb's hands shook, sweat dripping down his brow. He steadied his aim, every breath heavy with the weight of justice. "I ain't doing this for me. I'm doing it for the sheriff, for the town, for all the people you burned." Tom, struggling to his knees, whispered hoarsely, Don't do it, Caleb, not like this." The outlaw leader and the boy locked eyes. Two fates in the balance. Two guns between them. Jesse lunged, the night exploding in a single, final gunshot. When the smoke cleared, Jesse lay crumpled in the dust, his pistol inches from his hand. Caleb stood over him, rifle still smoking, his chest heaving. His eyes were wide, not with triumph, but horror at what he'd done. Tom dragged himself forward, gripping Jesse's coat, staring down at his once-brother. Jesse coughed blood, his grin faint but defiant. "You think this is over?" he rasped. "Blood don't wash clean. Not even in death." Then his body went still, eyes open to the night sky, as if watching the stars one last time. Silence fell over the canyon. The sheriff, the outlaw, the woman, and the boy, bound by love, betrayal, and blood, stood in the wreckage of a destiny too heavy to bear. But Tom knew Jesse's words were true. This wasn't over. The duel wasn't done. For in the distance, beyond the canyon, Jesse's gang still rode, waiting for their leader's return, or his vengeance. Tom rose, gripping his revolver, his voice steel. "We ride for Sundown. This ends in the street, where everyone can see." Dawn broke over the frontier like a bleeding wound, painting the horizon in crimson fire. Tom, weary and battered, rode at the head of a small, grim procession. Caleb, still shaken by the life he had taken, and Mary Lou, her eyes hollow with grief. Behind them, Jesse's body was wrapped in canvas, slung over a horse. The town of Sundown waited, whispers rippling through its dusty streets like wildfire. Word had spread, Jesse McGraw was dead, but his gang wasn't finished. Riders loyal to him were gathering, and they swore vengeance on the sheriff who'd betrayed his blood. Tom felt the eyes of the townsfolk burning into him as he dismounted. Mothers clutched their children, men whispered behind hats, saloon doors creaked open as shadows gathered. He could feel it, fear thicker than smoke. But fear was nothing compared to the storm on the horizon. Jesse's riders would come, and when they did, Sundown would drown in blood unless Tom stood tall. He squared his shoulders, holstered his revolver, and muttered, "If it's war they want, it ends here." A boy ran into town, gasping, "They're coming! Jesse's gang is riding hard, 50 strong." The town became a fortress. Wooden shutters slammed shut, rifles were loaded, and church bells tolled not for worship but for warning. Sheriff Tom moved from man to man, his voice steady though his heart thundered. He posted Caleb on the water tower with a rifle, stationed townsfolk behind barrels and wagons, and turned the saloon into a stronghold. The people who once looked at him with doubt now saw the fire in his eyes. Mary Lou stood by his side, her revolver gripped tight. "If you fall," she said, her voice trembling, "I fall with you." Tom shook his head, forcing a smile. "No, Mary. You live. You live for both of us if I don't walk away from this." The silence before battle was deafening. Even the desert wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, on the horizon, dust rose like a storm. Jesse's gang thundered toward Sundown, black hats glinting, rifles raised, the banners of vengeance flying. The riders slowed at the edge of town, and a familiar figure stepped forward, scarred but alive. Jesse McGraw had cheated death. Gasps swept through Sundown as Jesse rode into view, pale but grinning, a devil risen from his grave. His chest was bandaged, but his eyes burned hotter than ever. "You thought you killed me, brother," he called out, his voice carrying across the silent street. "But you can't bury the past that easy. Today, Sundown burns. Today, blood pays for blood." Tom stepped forward, revolver at his side. The townsfolk looked to him, trembling. For a moment, the brothers locked eyes. One sheriff, one outlaw, bound by an oath made in childhood, shattered by destiny. "Don't drag them into this, Jesse," Tom said, his voice rough but strong. "This is between you and me. Always has been." Jesse smirked. "Then meet me at sundown, in the street. One last duel. One last oath. Sheriff against outlaw, brother against brother. Winner takes everything." The church bell tolled once more, marking the hours until sundown. The final duel was set. The sun dipped low, bleeding red across the horizon. The street of Sundown was deserted, save for two figures facing each other in the dust. Tom, his hat low, revolver heavy at his hip. Jesse, his grin sharp, fingers twitching over his pistol. The town held its breath. Windows cracked open, children peered from behind shutters, gamblers paused mid-drink in the saloon. The world shrank to two men, a single street, and the promise of blood. "Remember the river," Jesse called softly. "We swore to ride together till the end." Tom's throat tightened. "This is the end, Jesse. But only one of us rides away." The sun touched the horizon. Shadows stretched long. Fingers twitched. Time slowed. And then, steel cleared leather. The street exploded with the thunder of two revolvers. When the smoke lifted, only one man was still standing. Silence. Then a cry. Jesse staggered, blood blooming across his chest. His revolver slipped from his hand, clattering into the dust. He fell to his knees, staring at Tom with a strange, broken smile. "You were always faster," he rasped. "Guess that's why you wore the star." His body sagged, but before he fell, he whispered, "Don't let them forget me." Tom caught him as he collapsed, cradling his brother in the street where it had all begun. The townsfolk poured out, some weeping, some cheering, but Tom heard nothing but the silence of a bond severed. Mary Lou ran to him, tears streaking her face. Caleb climbed down from the tower, his eyes wet but proud. The gang scattered, broken without their leader. Tom rose slowly, laying Jesse's body down. He looked to the horizon where the sun had finally set, and his voice carried across the street, "The blood oath is done. Sundown is free." But inside, he knew no victory could wash away the loss. Some wounds the West carved too deep. And as the stars lit the endless sky, the legend of the sheriff and the outlaw was born, etched forever in the dust of Sundown.